Okay, folks, welcome back to Threes In. I get rid of the glare here. Tell you a little bit more about the 38, the T-38 from my perspective. As you might have gathered if you've listened to a few of these video presentations here, I just absolutely loved that airplane. Just absolutely loved it. And as I have said on a few occasions, I never got into that airplane. I always strapped it on, and it felt part of me. So when I began flying a 38 in 1970, they were still learning a lot about it in retrospect. There were some things that the fellows before me did that they no longer had in the program anymore. Two maneuvers come to mind right away. One was the single engine heavyweight overhead pattern, where they'd take off on initial takeoff and then climb up to inside downwind, pull an engine to idle, and then fly the single engine overhead pattern. And they did that until somebody went into the charts and discovered they really didn't have the thrust available to perform that maneuver, and they were so damn lucky they got away with it as often as they did. So once they discovered that, I guess those things could be quite harrowing. I never saw one, don't care to see one. So they did away with those, and then when I was in, we would take off, turn crosswind and into downwind, and go out and fly a straight in single engine heavyweight, which was very manageable. The other thing that we would do, actually, we flew our final turns at 60 degrees of bank, as opposed to what they fly today at 45 degrees of bank. Now, I never knew that those things were dangerous. That's just what we did. And the way they taught them was, they said, okay, when you roll into your final turn, roll to 60 degrees of bank, and then pull until you hit the light tickle on the airplane, and then shove the power, shoot the throttles to military powers, and just ride that buffet around. Boy, was that a thrill. And then we came to find out that that probably wasn't too bright. So they backed off the 60 degree bank final turn and went to the 45 degree final turn, and that worked fine. But, I think they were trying to kill us. But anyway, we didn't do that anymore. Another maneuver that they did before I got to pilot training was close trail four-ship over the top. Now what that is, we would take 4 airplanes and we put them in close trail. Now what we would do in close trail, we would put our canopy bow right on the tailpipe of the airplane in front of us. So you'd have lead, 2, 3, and 4 stacked like that. And we'd be going downhill, around 500, 520 knots, somewhere like that. And he'd just very gingerly start a pull over the top, and we'd stay in position and a little bobbing around like that and so forth. You hit the jet wash every now and then. Anyway, we'd bounce around a little bit. But you could do it, but it was really dicey. And then what I never did it. It wasn't in our syllabus. We did 2-ship close trail over the top, but not 4-ship. But the guys that did it would tell us that you would often hear going downhill, they'd start over the top, and you'd hear 4's breaking out. 174 is breaking out, and you hear 173 is breaking out, 172 is breaking out, and then you'd hear, oh shit. Because what he had was 4 airplanes that had broken out of formation, going the best direction they had for separation. Now you need to get these guys back together as a 4-ship, and often you might only get 2 or 3 of them back together, hence the oh shit. Anyway, so that maneuver went by the wayside. Another maneuver that we did, and I was sorry to see this one go, because when we went through pilot training, we had this spirit called esprit de corps, and what it was just excessive pride in being in the United States Air Force, pride in flying the T-38, pride of being in our class, and so forth. And it was a magic time. And every 6 weeks, the new class would start T-38s. So we would all kind of mosey outside. We knew the new class was coming in, and we'd kind of sit on the curb and so forth. And the first ride in the program was an AB climb, an afterburner climb. So student after student would line up on 1-4 left there at Randolph, and then release brakes, start down the runway, and the IP was demoing the AB climb. So you get airborne, level it off, smoke down the runway, at the end of the runway, just pull it up. Now, it often looked like the airplane was going straight up, but it was probably a 45-degree angle, but still a 45-degree climb, but still it looked like it was going straight up. And I can feel my blood boil when I tell you this story, because it was just magic. And when I finally got my turn, oh man, that was so cool watching that, looking left and right, and that airplane, the earth just fell away like that, and it was so cool. But then, shortly after I graduated, this Vietnam War was winding down, and this phenomenon called professionalism crept into the equation. And professionalism kind of pushed the esprit de corps out the door. And I hated professionalism. I offer that our IPs and commanders were every bit as professional as the new kids coming on board, the PC professionals. But we just had, I think we were gifted by being exposed to these, the old heads, if you will, the salt of the earth IPs. Anyway, when I retired, I went out on a 2-ship and with Bill Hartree, John Gillis, and Rick Lanier. And we were number 2. And I had briefed a afterburner climb for the last departure. Now, by that time, it said in the book, our operating manual guidance, if you will, that afterburner climbs were not normally performed. Well, I thought, okay, being my last ride in the airplane, that's not normal. You only have one last ride. So I did an afterburner climb. We both did. Came back to the squadron commander collared me, and he said, "Who gave you authorization to do that AB climb on your departure?" And I said, "Well, I self-authorized." And he says, "Was that legal?" And I said, "Yeah." He said, "Well, doesn't the book say they're not normally performed?" And I said, "Well, that wasn't a normal takeoff. That was my last takeoff." He just looked at me for a moment, turned around, and walked away. But I can tell you, that was a great departure with one exception. The airplane I had was a dog. And when I landed, Chris, my crew chief, says, "Hey, Colonel," he said, "if I'd known you were going to do an AB climb, I'd have gotten you a different jet." He says, "That one's a dog." And I said, "Well, now you tell me," because it was hot that day. And when I got airborne and left it down on the deck and got to the end of the runway, when I pulled it up, it just puked on me. It went up, yeah, but nowhere near like it would have if I had had a jet with 2 really finely tuned engines. And it took forever to get caught up to the lead aircraft. And then when I did get caught up on them, I was a couple 100 pounds light on fuel. But anyway, story for another day if I think there's any merit to it. But those are just a few of the characteristics of the 38, the maneuvers that we did. I'll tell you more about them as they come to mind. Until then, good to see everyone, and have a great day. See ya.